The sound of bones crushing under a car tire is something you never forget. It's a distinct crunch, followed by searing pain that makes your vision go white. I know this sound intimately now, thanks to my brother David. I'm Sophia Chin, 26, a concert pianist, or I was until yesterday. Now I'm lying in the emergency room, watching my mother try to convince the nurses that my brother accidentally drove over my right hand. David didn't see her, my mother insisted, her perfectly manicured nails tapping nervously on her designer purse. Sophia shouldn't have been crouching behind the car. Except I wasn't behind the car. I was standing next to it, reaching for my sheet music that had blown under David's BMW. He saw me. He made eye contact with me through his side mirror. Then he deliberately put the car in reverse. "Mrs. Chen," the nurse said firmly, checking my IV, "your daughter's hand was crushed. This requires immediate surgical consultation." "We understand," my father cut in smoothly, "but perhaps we could transfer her to our family doctor. Dr. Lee knows our family history." I almost laughed through my pain medication haze. Of course they wanted Dr. Lee. He'd been covering up David's accidents since we were teenagers. "I'm calling Dr. Victoria Martinez," the nurse announced. "She's the best hand surgeon in the state." My mother's face tightened. "We prefer." "This isn't optional," the nurse interrupted. "Your daughter's hand has multiple crush injuries. Without immediate specialized surgery, she could lose function permanently." I watched my parents exchange worried glances. They knew a specialist might ask too many questions, might notice too much. David, lounging in the corner chair playing with his phone, finally looked up. "Come on, sis," he said with that familiar, cruel smile. "Tell them it was just an accident. You know how sorry I am." Sorry, like he was sorry when he broke my fingers one by one when I was 16 because I won a piano competition he lost. Like he was sorry when he slammed my hand in a door last year because I refused to give him money for his gambling debts. The nurse left to make calls, and my mother immediately leaned close to my bed. "Sophia, remember what we talked about. Family loyalty is everything. David's career could be affected if this gets complicated." Ah, yes, David's precious career as a surgeon. The golden child who could do no wrong. The son who was just high-spirited when he hurt me, just stressed when he became violent. "My career," I whispered through dry lips. "What about my career?" "Don't be dramatic," my father sighed. "You can still teach piano." Teach piano. With a crushed hand. Because my brother's medical career was more important than my ability to ever play again. The door opened, and a tall woman in surgical scrubs entered. "I'm Dr. Martinez," she announced, picking up my chart. Her eyes were sharp as she scanned the initial reports. "Thank you for coming." My mother started her usual charm offensive. "We're hoping to transfer Sophia to." "That won't be possible." Dr. Martinez cut her off, already examining my hand. "This injury requires immediate surgery. I'm seeing multiple crush fractures, possible nerve damage." She carefully unwrapped the temporary bandages, and I heard her slight intake of breath. "These older heel fractures," she said slowly, "they show a pattern." My heart started racing. No one had ever noticed the pattern before. Or if they did, they'd been paid not to mention it. "Sports injuries," my father said quickly. "Sophia is clumsy." Dr. Martinez's eyes met mine. "Ms. Chen, I need to take some x-rays and do a detailed exam. Would you prefer to speak privately?" "We're her family," my mother protested. "We should." "Out," Dr. Martinez said firmly. "All of you, now." I watched them leave, my mother's tight smile, my father's controlled anger, David's darkening expression. For the first time since the accident, I felt like I could breathe. "Sophia," Dr. Martinez said gently once we were alone, "I've seen these injury patterns before. Multiple healed fractures at different stages, concentrated in one area of the body. This wasn't your first hand injury, was it?" Tears slid down my cheeks as I shook my head. "The nurses noted you said your brother reversed over your hand deliberately. Was he also responsible for the previous injuries?" Years of fear and family pressure screamed at me to deny it, to protect David, to keep the family secret. But as I looked at my crushed hand, the hand that had been my life, my art, my freedom, something broke inside me. "Yes," I whispered, "he was." Dr. Martinez nodded, her face professional but her eyes compassionate. "I'm going to help you, Sophia, not just with your hand, but with all of it. But first, I need to make a call." To whom? I asked, though I already knew. The police, she said, reaching for her phone. And then we're going to document everything. Every break, every accident, every scar. It's time someone knew the truth. Outside the room, I heard David's voice rising in anger. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what would happen next. The police interview room was cold, but Detective Morgan's eyes were warm as she set a cup of tea in front of me. My bandaged hand rested on the table between us, a stark reminder of why we were here. Take your time, Ms. Chen, she said, opening her notebook. Dr. Martinez has provided the medical documentation. Now we need your statement. It had been 3 days since the accident, 3 days of surgery, of my parents trying to pressure Dr. Martinez into changing her report, of David's increasingly threatening messages through family members. But Dr. Martinez had stood firm, documenting every old injury, every suspicious break, creating a timeline of abuse that spanned nearly a decade. It started when I was 16. I began slowly, after the Shanghai International Piano Competition. Detective Morgan listened as I described how David, then a medical student, had systematically broken my fingers after I won first place, a competition he'd lost years before. How our parents had called it a sibling quarrel and taken me to Dr. Lee, who wrote it off as a sports accident. They said it would hurt David's medical career if anyone knew, I explained, my voice trembling, that I needed to think about the family's reputation. And the other incidents, Detective Morgan prompted gently. I told her about the slammed door last year, the accidental falls that always seemed to involve my hands, the constant threats whenever I refused to give David money. With each revelation, I felt a weight lifting, the weight of secrets kept too long. Ms. Chen, Detective Morgan said, sliding photographs across the table. Dr. Martinez provided these X-rays. They show at least 15 separate hand injuries over the past 10 years, all systematically targeting your performing ability. I stared at the images, the story of my abuse laid out in black and white. Your brother's medical knowledge would have made him aware of exactly how to cause maximum damage without leaving obvious external trauma, she continued. This wasn't random violence. This was calculated. A knock interrupted us. Another detective entered, looking grim. We just finished interviewing Dr. Lee, he reported. He's willing to cooperate in exchange for a deal. Apparently, he has records of treating multiple suspicious injuries over the years. My hands started shaking. Dr. Lee had been my parents' insurance policy for years. If he was talking. There's more, the detective added. We found evidence that your brother has a history of similar behavior. 2 ex-girlfriends have come forward, both musicians, both with suspicious hand injuries treated by Dr. Lee. The room seemed to spin. It hadn't just been me. David had done this to others. Sophia, Detective Morgan said softly, using my first name for the first time. What happened with the car wasn't an accident. It was attempted murder of your career. Your brother knew exactly what he was doing. He always knew, I whispered. He used to say he was doing me a favor, that I needed to learn my place. And your parents? They enabled him, covered for him, told me I was overreacting. I laughed bitterly. Even now, they're more worried about his career than whether I'll ever play again. Detective Morgan's face hardened. Well, they should be worried of their own freedom. Covering up assault, interfering with medical care, witness intimidation. They're looking at serious charges. Just then, my phone buzzed. Another message from my mother. Family meeting tonight. We can fix this if you cooperate. I showed it to Detective Morgan. She nodded grimly. Classic manipulation. They're trying to regain control. I can't go back, I said, surprising myself with my firmness. Not this time. You don't have to, she assured me. We have enough evidence to move forward without any pressure on you. Dr. Martinez's documentation alone. I want to testify, I interrupted. I want to tell everything. Detective Morgan studied me carefully. Are you sure? It won't be easy. Neither was living in fear for 10 years, I replied. Neither is knowing he hurt other women. Neither is wondering if I'll ever play piano again. She nodded, understanding. We'll need to move quickly. Your brother's position at the hospital gives him resources. The sooner we act. Another detective burst in. David Chen just tried to leave the country. Airport police stopped him at the terminal. My heart raced. He tried to run. Finally, Everyone would see the truth I'd known for years. My brother was not the golden child they thought he was. Sophia, Detective Morgan said urgently, we're arresting him now. Your parents too. Is there somewhere safe he can stay? She can stay with me, a familiar voice said from the doorway. Dr. Martinez stood there, still in her surgical scrubs. I have a guest room, and I can monitor her recovery. I felt tears welling up. This stranger had done more to protect me in 3 days than my family had in my entire life. It's time to end this cycle, Dr. Martinez said softly. No more covers-ups. No more family loyalty that only goes one way. Looking at my bandaged hand, I thought about all the music I might never play again. But I also thought about all the other potential victims I might save by speaking up now. I'm ready, I said, standing straighter. Let's finish this. For the first time since I was 16, I felt like I was finally playing my own tune. 1 year later, I sat at the courthouse, watching my brother being led away in handcuffs. 8 years for aggravated assault, attempted grievous bodily harm, and multiple counts of historical abuse. My parents received 3 years each for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Dr. Lee lost his medical license. You did it. Dr. Martinez squeezed my shoulder. She'd been beside me through everything, the surgeries, the rehabilitation, the trial. The past year had been a journey of both healing and discovery. 6 surgeries on my hand, countless hours of physical therapy, and something unexpected, hope. While I might never perform complex piano concertos again, I had regained enough function to play simpler pieces. More importantly, I'd found my voice. After the story broke, other victims came forward. Not just David's ex-girlfriends, but other musicians who'd encountered him during competitions. A pattern emerged. He targeted talented musicians, especially those who'd outperformed him. Each time, our parents had paid for silence, used their connections to bury complaints. Ms. Chen, a young woman, approached me outside the courtroom. I'm Lisa, one of the violin students who David hurt, I finished gently. I remember your testimony. She nodded, tears in her eyes. Watching you stand up to them gave me courage. I never thought anyone would believe me. That had been the most surprising discovery. How many lives had been touched by my family's web of abuse and silence. By breaking free, I'd helped others break free too. Dr. Martinez and I walked to her car. She'd become more than my surgeon. She was my friend, my advocate, my new definition of family. I have something to show you, she said, driving us not to her house, but to the local community center. It's time. Inside, a group of young people waited. All abuse survivors, all musicians. Over the past months, we formed a support group that evolved into something more. A place where injured musicians could find hope, healing, and new ways to express their art. Ready for your first class, Professor Chen? Dr. Martinez smiled. I looked at my hand. Though it would never be the same, it could still create beauty. I learned to adapt my playing, to teach others how to work with their limitations rather than fight against them. Today, I told the group, we're going to talk about music as healing, about finding new ways to play, to express, to survive. A teenage girl raised her hand. But what if we can't play like before? Then we play differently, I said, sitting at the piano. My hand moved differently now, but I'd learned to work with what I had. The simple melody I played filled the room, not as complex as my old performances, but somehow more meaningful. Music isn't about perfection, I continued. It's about expression, about survival. Every time we play, despite what was done to us, we win. After class, Dr. Martinez helped me pack up. Your parents' appeal was denied, she mentioned casually. I nodded, feeling nothing but relief. The last year had taught me that real family doesn't hurt you, doesn't silence you, doesn't break you to control you. My phone buzzed. A message from Detective Morgan. Thought you'd want to know. David's hospital privileges have been permanently revoked. It's really over. It was over, but something new had begun. Next month, I would be opening a music therapy center for abuse survivors. A place where healing could happen through art, where broken bodies could find new ways to create beauty. You know what today is? Dr. Martinez asked as we left the community center. I smiled. 1 year since you made that call to the police. Looking at my hand, I remembered David's words from years ago. You'll never play if you don't learn your place. He was wrong. My place wasn't in his shadow, wasn't in my parents' carefully constructed lie of a perfect family. My place was here, helping others find their music again, their voice, their strength. That evening, I sat at my piano at home. My hand moved differently now, but it still moved. I played a simple piece, one I composed during recovery. It spoke of pain, of healing, of survival. The final note lingered in the air, and I thought about how far I'd come. From a victim trapped in a family's web of abuse to a survivor, helping others find their way out. My hands might tell a story of violence, but they also told a story of triumph. David had tried to silence my music, but he'd only changed its tune. And this new melody, though different, was entirely my own.